Welcome to Materials and Methods Matter. This episode is part 2 of Graphite Mix Media Techniques. In this episode, I will demonstrate how to use these 4 mixed media techniques in the drawing from part 1. The first thing I had to do was replicate the drawing from my sketchbook onto a heavyweight drawing paper. In this part of the demonstration, I'm going to be using the aqua brush. In this part of the drawing, I used a 6B pencil for the dark shadow area. First of all, it creates a lot of dust, but by applying the water on here, I can even out the value and give a nice smoother look to the background, especially when you get into very dark areas. So I'm going to use the aqua brush, and it doesn't take long to just quickly add some water on here. Next, I'm using the alcohol-based colorless blender in some of the shadow areas to darken the values and give them a matte finish. You notice here we have a pretty close value, so by adding the colorless blender, the alcohol mixing with the graphite creates a very dark shadow. So it gives us more contrast between the shadow on the wall and the reflection of this vase, the reflection on the glass of the display case. Always remember to wipe off your marker onto a paper towel to clean the tip. For the next technique, I'm using the Polycolor Colorless Blender pencil. And what I want to do is I want to build some stronger contrast and refine some of the darker areas on this sculpture. So by taking this and this pencil and blending, I can create a nice dark line. It also evens out, and if I let up on it, not putting so much weight, I can actually use it to get a nice gradation. With this colorless blender pencil, I'm also going to enhance some of the lines or small shadows, as I call them. For instance, the end of this placard has gives it some 3 dimension. If I have the shadow here, and then I can also just lightly break that light space. The hardest thing to do is to retain the white of the paper in small tight areas, especially around the glass of this display case. And I could use an eraser and redraw those areas, but I found it easier to use a white opaque marker. This is acrylic paint, but it mixes with the graphite. So if I use this just to bring some highlight back into an area such as here. We also have this plexiglass. The final part of the drawing is always the cleanup. We can see some smudges here from the graphite on the side of my hand. So I'm using here a MOO Eraser. and basically I can just pull this across the paper. It's a nice soft vinyl eraser, and I can use this to clean up, easily clean up any graphite smudges that have occurred because of my bear paw going through there, through the graphite. So we'll clean this up. One of the tools that I always use is from my drafting days is a drafting brush, and I can use this to brush off any dust or any erasures that are left on the paper. The brush will not smear the graphite on the drawing. So here's the result of our final drawing, enhanced with the variety of mixed media techniques. Materials and Methods Matter was inspired by my book, Making Art, Materials and Techniques for Today's Artist. For more videos on Materials and Methods Matter, as well as lesson plans and other instructional videos, visit Thalo.com.